A new scene for Denis Villeneuve's Dune Part 2 has been released online, and after already being blown away by all the trailers they've released for the film, this new footage continues to do so as well. It focuses on the scene where Paul learns to ride a sandworm for the very first time, and how that moment becomes a final test for him with the Fremen. Afterwards, we did get a small montage of a few new shots to excite us even more, but a lot of that stuff we had already seen. I also talked about this briefly in my first 10 minutes breakdown the other week, so I'd recommend watching that video if you want to hear my thoughts on it. But in this upload, I'm going to be giving you my reaction and breakdown for the footage of the sandworm scene, discussing some of the things that stood out to me while I watched it. The extended scene will be linked in the description of this video if you haven't seen it already. Before I get into my breakdown though, if you want to keep up to date on any of my content surrounding Dune Part 2 and beyond, then don't forget to support this upload by giving it a like rating, subscribing to the channel, and turning on your notifications. But without further ado, let's dive into the new footage from Dune Part 2. So the new footage released for Dune Part 2 includes the majority of the sandworm scene where Paul learns to ride one as his final test, getting us even more hyped for the release of the film in a few weeks' time. If you were one of the lucky ones who got to see this footage in theatres, you'll know that it was edited down slightly for this online release, with the extended version having director Denis Villeneuve introduce the sneak peek himself, some extra shots of footage at the beginning, and more footage of the sandworm scene too. Denis said that he had always imagined what it would be like to film this sandworm moment, and that he spent a lot of time to get it just how he wanted it. I can only imagine myself how incredible it was seeing this sequence in IMAX, with the grander scale and thumping sound to accompany it, but from just what was released online, we got a great sense of that too. Coming to that scene, there were a few things that stood out to me as being quite interesting reflections of what was in the book during this moment, and visual cues that hint towards Denis' take on it too. To start off with, I'm glad that they included Paul's blue eyes, as it confirms that this moment will be after the 2-year time jump. That was removed from this scene in the trailers, and it got some people worried that major changes would be coming to the structure of Part 2. Now, Denis is changing small things from the book, and giving characters like Chani and Princess Irulan more of a perspective, but it looks like he's keeping a focus on the structure of the book's second half. As you see in the scene, Chani is also wearing the blue headband, which means she has already given birth to Leto Jr., and the 2-year time jump is essentially preserved. Speaking of Chani, I do like that Denis is keeping to his word and starting to show Paul through the eyes of others. He said that as the movie goes on, Chani will become a somewhat lens for the audience to see Paul's development through, and I think that will really help to convey the more tragic ending that he has alluded to, because then us as the audience can truly gather the meaning of Paul's arc by the end when we see it through Chani's eyes. Again, Paul is the main character in this story, it's just a case of adding perspectives to enrichen the narrative, and I think it's a clever way to do that through the eyes of Chani. Speaking of that Fremen perspective, we also get a greater look at the Neo-Chakobsa language being used in this scene, and by having the Fremen actually speak Chakobsa in the movie, it reflects Herbert's work well in how he has been able to integrate the expansive lore throughout the books. We also further got that moment between Paul and Stilgar, which started with Bardem's character saying not to be too fancy, but ended in a quite comical moment of him realizing how big the worm truly is. So when it comes to Chani and the Fremen, they were one of the perspectives on show, and I think Denis is so far doing a great job of that. Moving on to the rest of the Sandworm scene, this is where we come to the perspective of Paul and how, in my opinion, Denis adapted the pages from the book in a pretty perfect way. During Paul's ride, we actually see the mechanics of the worm so that the audience can understand why it rolls over to keep the rider on top. There was no exposition here or skating around that point because it visually showed it to us in the tension-filled footage. I really like how they showed the sensitive nature of the organs under the worm's scales, depicting why it stays above the surface when rode. Most complaints about Dune's adaptation usually say that Villeneuve made a change from the books to communicate a complex idea through a short visual cue. I personally think that's exactly the point of why it works though, because you're adapting something for a visual medium, and translating everything as it was read on the page wouldn't work well for a good adaptation. As with the first film, the visual storytelling tells me that everything has been thought through with care and method. They knew they had to present the worm riding in a tense and thrilling way, yet they took the time to incorporate the smaller details in that moment to elevate it even further. Like I mentioned, they had the stuff surrounding Paul getting the worm above the surface, and they also focused on the chaotic elements of the moment with the high winds, getting hit by lots of sand, low visibility, and the hard surface of the worm. It focused on the natural world around him while he struggles to attach those maker hooks. If we take today's blockbuster landscape as an example, there's probably a director out there who would prioritize a lot more clarity over the details of a particular moment, and it would become too clean to really believe in. But Denis, Fraser, and co believe in the grittiness of an important moment, and like the book, they stress on the true struggle and details of this sequence. I also loved how they filmed this on a pre-built Sandworm set, blowing sand at Timothée rather than relying on the actor stood behind a green screen. It helps to keep the big moments authentic, and it allows the actor to act out their struggle on screen rather than pretend to be up against it and giving us a less than effective performance. Now, of course, there is a lot of VFX used here too, but there has to be. By filming the foundations of the scene in camera on a real set, the whole thing is initially elevated, and then on top of this, the added visuals still look seamless and realistic. Not only do I think this captures the essence of the scene as it was written in a book, it transforms a literary experience into a perfect cinematic one too. When you read Dune, you are often left to feel the action and the vibe of a particular moment, especially as a lot of it is focused on the thoughts of different individuals. But for me, this scene perfectly captures the cinematic qualities of that moment, and these were things that I pictured when reading it for the first time. So now that I've talked about some of the new footage, what was my reaction to it? Well, to me, this scene captured everything I love about Dune and what I love about this adaptation for the big screen. Before part 1 was made, one of the things I wanted from Denis Villeneuve's adaptation of Dune was for him to give it a soul in both the characters he adapts and the imagery he presents on screen, having these images bring a sense of cinematic power to the many moments. Essentially, the show don't tell approach, but then have those visuals capture the supreme detail that was on the page. And with this iconic scene being brought to life in the way it was, I think Denis may have just pulled off the impossible. Even without the IMAX version of this scene, the amazing cinematography by Greg Fraser, coupled with what sounds like a sketchbook-inspired Hans Zimmer score, was absolutely chilling. It makes me think about the added effect it will have in theatres, and already people are saying that, like the Harvester scene from part 1, it's really exhilarating. Beyond the presentation of it though, I love how Denis was able to convey the real danger of this moment, yet the feeling that Paul has completely become a part of the Fremen. There's this feeling of belonging, then by the end of it, there's this feeling that in the Fremen's eyes, Paul is their prophet. Obviously, there's loads in between and around this moment too, like with where Lady Jessica is, the things that have changed in the 2 years leading up to this moment, and the additional shots from this scene that aren't present in the online version. But what we saw here was outstanding, and I can't wait to see the full moment in the context of the movie. Leading up to that though, there's also a chance that some fans may be treated to an extra scene in theatres too. During an early Tenet reissue screening screening, they apparently showed the Gurney Harvester scene, so I wouldn't be surprised if those who did go to the Dune re-release screening this Friday or the Tenet reissue in a few weeks' time, that they were treated to a little more footage from the film. Regardless, there's not long to go until we all actually see the movie, so we can see for ourselves if Denis and his team have managed to bring the end of Herbert's book to screen in a powerful way, just like they did for this Sandworm scene. I really hope that part 2 can deliver when it releases in a few weeks' time, but so far, everything we've seen from it is extremely exciting. But that was my video discussing my thoughts and breaking down the new scene from Dune Part 2. I will be posting much more videos in the next few weeks during the build up to Part 2, including topical uploads from my Road 2 series and the main updates from Denis Villeneuve's film. But if you've already seen the new extended footage, then let me know down below in the comment section what you thought of it, alongside whether it gets you even more excited for what's in store. For much more videos and news on Denis Villeneuve's Dune universe, then subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like rating and follow me on social media via the links in the description. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.